we're looking to determine what you guys can do. Be consistent, bring energy every day, be accountable, and build confidence. The bottom line is to understand that we have a chance here to come together as a football team. We have to be mentally engaged. We have to learn exactly what we've got to get done and how to do it. So when the play's called, we can execute our assignment. And that's what we're looking to get done. And that's the commitment we need to make. That's what camp's all about for us. Every play, every day, repeating, that's what I'm looking for.
Raiders Training Camp 2017 is in Napa, which is where we find our Steve Wyche back home in California as the Raiders, Steve, get on the field for the very first time. Do so with an offensive line expected to dominate, but one right now that doesn't have its left tackle.
Yeah, Andrew, the offensive line, they just started warm-ups a few minutes ago. They were just over my right shoulder. Now most of the team has moved to another field to go through some drills. But left tackle Donald Penn was not in uniform with the rest of his offensive line mates. Yesterday when the team reported, it became clear that Donald Penn was not going to come because he's not happy with his contract situation. He's in the last year of his deal. It's going to pay him less than $7 million. He's the fourth highest paid offensive lineman on the team. Now, Penn spoke to our Willie McGinnis yesterday and said this has nothing to do with the money his line mates are making, but he is the starting left tackle on a team that just paid his quarterback on a $125 million contract. He's one of the top offensive linemen in the NFL. He has to go up against guys like Tom Bahali and Justin Houston and Von Miller to protect Derek Carr. So he wants to be paid along line with some of the better left offensive tackles. Also, his age, he may be in there in his early to mid-30s, but offensive linemen, they tend to play a little bit longer in their career, so he doesn't want that to be an issue. But right now, they're without a key cog in their offensive line as they start drills here. They understand the value of Derek Carr and how good he is. But remember, Carr structured his deal so other players could get signed, that there would be money. They took care of right guard Gabe Jackson, so there is cap space. Eventually they have to get to Khalil Mack, but there's something there for Donald Penn. But on to Derek Carr. I spoke to him for a little while yesterday. He's been here all week. The rookies have been here all week, so the quarterbacks have been too. He said he's been throwing. He got rid of the supposed arm fatigue that comes with quarterbacks early in camp, got rid of some of the soreness from cranking up the volume of throws. So he said he's going to be ready to rip nonstop because he realizes that's good news to be able to connect with his receivers all through training camp. So he doesn't get arm fatigue, so he has to take days off. He wants to be there to connect with some of the threats they have, Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. And Cooper said yesterday that the chemistry between him and Carr, now entering their third season, is better than it's ever been. He could see that in minicamp. It is clear they anticipate each other's moves, know certain things on routes, so they're expecting bigger things. So Derek Carr, besides the things, guys, we've seen on the field and him being here early, I can tell you this, his teammates, they absolutely love him. The magnetism he has and the fact that he connects with his teammates. And this is a married man, a guy with kids. He still hangs out with them. He goes to Golden State Warriors games with his teammates. Not just one or two of them, but in groups of them. They will do anything for Derek Carr, which is why they feel they're such a confident group. They feel they're going to be very good and to button things up. Khalil Mack told me, we were talking just kind of back and forth. They said, well, you guys aren't going to surprise anyone this year. Guys are going to be coming after you. He says, no, we're going to be coming after everybody else.
Which is a good way to put it as the Raiders try to get back to the postseason.
They took the field about 20 minutes ago, and they went through some individual type of drills, and they went through position type of drills. And the one thing that you see in these non-padded practices is that type of stuff. We're looking at Derek Carr right now. He's been out here all week. The quarterback's been here all week, as have the rookies in what they call a pre-camp. So Carr says he's kind of gotten through some of the arm fatigue that comes 2 or 3 days into camp. So he feels pretty sharp. Just some simple stretching right here. They're going to get it going. You know, the things you want to see in the early parts of camp will be the retention. You know, this is the first time they've really had a lot of these guys back since the mini camps and OTAs. But having the rookies here for a few days earlier has gotten them up to speed. So they've got to do some teaching so these guys can blend right in, because most of these players are coming in on the second and third team on the depth chart. One of those rookies, Gary Conley, the cornerback out of Ohio State, the first-round draft pick, signed his deal last night. He is here, so it's a pretty complete roster other than left tackle Donald Penn, who decided yesterday not to report. He's not happy with his contract. But there are fans in the stands. We've heard some cheers. We know the loudest cheers are probably going to be for a guy we don't have in front of, but he's wearing a number 24 jersey. That's Marshawn Lynch, who was traded here from Seattle, a hometown kid who retired last season, coming back to play. There's a lot of excitement about Marshawn Lynch, guys. And talking to people over the past few months, Lynch being back here has been kind of a salve for the disappointment of the team being approved to relocate to Las Vegas. So a lot of excitement around this team. A lot of people feel they're a Super Bowl contender.
Let's talk about that. Mike Silver joined us in this conversation as the Bay Area guy. This is going to be somewhat awkward. We haven't really seen anything like this that I can remember in recent American sports history. A team saying, we're leaving, but oh, by the way, we're going to hang around for a little bit. And then that team being, Mike, a legitimate Super Bowl contender. As the guy who lives there, how has this been the last couple of months, and how do you think it will be as we start the season?
Well, Andrew, it is awkward, and it's a cool twist of fate for a lot of Oakland Raider fans because they endured that long stretch between the Super Bowl defeat against the Buccaneers following the 2002 season and last year's triumphant return to the playoffs and the promise of Derek Carr and so much else. And all those years in between without a winning season, without a playoff appearance. And they're great fans. They love their team through thick and thin. And now they finally have a team that is a legit Super Bowl contender. And they have the hometown hero, Marshawn Lynch, coming back. And yet there is the specter of them leaving. And look, as long as they're as good as we think they're going to be, I think it can work in the short term. I think if they started losing, it could get pretty ugly in Oakland, and maybe they'll only last a year there. Maybe if they're winning and Marshawn's doing his thing and everything's good, they can last 3, maybe somewhere in between. But then you hear about Donald Penn, the left tackle, who fans might not understand the impact, but people inside football understand that he's quietly been a key part of that team, and the offensive line being a strength of the team. So hopefully for Raider fans, that can get resolved. It's bittersweet because I'm very excited for Oakland and the people of Oakland who put in all this time standing by their team, that this team has a chance to do these big things. But it's hard when you know that there's this unhappy ending looming.
You see Marshawn Lynch there.
Hey, if I can
new Raider jersey. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I want to jump on the relocation issue thing too, because this has really made it kind of a complex situation for the players and coaches here, because you have media outlets from Las Vegas covering the Raiders now as a beat, as well as from the Bay Area covering them as a beat. So the players and coaches have consistently been asked about this relocation, and they've been kind of coached up to basically not to offend, because you'll hear the players say, hey, we're playing for Oakland now, we're excited about getting to Las Vegas, but that's down the road. The tap dance that everyone with this franchise has to do now in balancing out these two locales is very sensitive, because nobody wants to say anything to step on the toes of what's been a supportive fan base in the Bay Area, yet also potentially alienate a future fan base in Las Vegas.
Well, and Steve, that's why the signing of Marshawn Lynch is so convenient and inspired. And a lot of people might think it's contrived or trite. The deep love affair that Marshawn Lynch has with this city on a very raw grassroots effort level is pretty unique. And I know I was really touched. I think we were in studio the day when Marshawn had his opening press conference, and they asked him, when did you decide you wanted to come back and play? And he said the day that they announced they were moving to Las Vegas is when I decided I wanted to come back and play for Oakland. That's deep, and that is, if you're going to stay connected, you need a guy like that to be your standard bearer.
It's pretty remarkable when we think about Marshawn Lynch. The last time we saw him in a football uniform, it was in Seattle. He was saying things like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. He didn't really want to talk to the media during the Super Bowl week. And then now you fast forward to current day and to what you just mentioned, Steve and Mike, and him saying, I want to come play for Oakland. And you know what? The impact he's had for the Raiders organization, for the fans, before he's even taken a snap in a Raiders uniform, it's remarkable. I don't think I've ever seen or heard or can remember of a player having this much of a positive impact coming out of retirement for a team. And it's couldn't have come at a better time. As you mentioned, Steve, look, and Mike, fans were upset when they found out that the team was going to move, and Marshawn has almost kind of lifted that. They're not even thinking about that. It's almost like they're embracing these last 2 years or whatever it might be, and it's all because of Marshawn, and he has yet to really even do what they're paying him to do, which is run the football. And this offense could look dramatically different with Marshawn Lynch behind this powerful offensive line.
They hope he has that impact on the field as well. You're looking at day one of the Raiders on the field, their first full practice today. This is live on NFL Network in Napa. We're heading back there coming up shortly. Inside Training Camp Live, presented to you by Mitsubishi Motors. Don't go anywhere. Real football, first weekend of camp. Camp Live, presented to you by Mitsubishi. The practice field, Inside Training Camp Live. The practice field, Inside Training Camp Live, presented to you by Mitsubishi Motors. Sean O'Hara, I'm Andrew Siciliano. Again, we're in Philadelphia, but Sean, these are live pictures of the Raiders and their receiving core, and Amari Cooper, a man who the Raiders are certainly leaning on to continue his maturation and growth as they look to retake the West.
He's so smooth. It's been fun to watch him, and really this season is going to be a big one for him and Derek Carr. Every year it seems like they grow and just kind of get more familiar, more confident. But this offense can only do so much. The defense really got to start pulling their weight.
Well, there's the question really on this team. Is this defense good enough, Sean? Jack Del Rio's the defensive coach. 26th scoring defense. Let me run down the numbers here. 26th, total defense. 20th scoring. 23rd against the run. 24th against the pass. Last. Fewest sacks in the NFL.
Yeah, that's remarkable. 25 sacks together as a defense. And Khalil Mack had 11 of them. It's pretty shocking that Khalil Mack could be the defensive player of the year and yet be on such a poor defense. So I think on paper, I think the talent, certainly didn't parlay into the season that they would like to have. Up front, I think on the other side of the ball, or on the other side from Khalil Mack, Bruce Irvin, even though we didn't have the sack production, he got to the quarterback a lot. There was a lot of quarterback pressures, a lot of quarterback hits. Sometimes those will turn into sacks if you stay persistent. But, the linebacking core and this secondary, this is such a tough division. The AFC West, when you look at, the other defenses in that division and what some of these other offenses are doing, they're really going to have to step it up if they want to help out the offense.
And they did go defense with their first couple of picks in the draft. We've spoken of Garyon Conley. He signed last night. He's out there today. Obi Melifonwu, in kind of the Byron Jones mold, in that he's an athletic freak and a UConn DB that not a lot of people heard about until he snuck into the top of the second round. But then there's Eddie Vanderdoes from down the 5 freeway at UCLA, the massive space-eating tackle, and they're going to put him in the middle of that line. So they addressed the defense in the draft. But, Sean, as an offensive player, I'd have to imagine it wears on you if your defense can't keep the other guy out of the end zone. And you know that when you go out there every week, usually 21's not going to be enough.
Well, I think I think the offense understands that when you know your defense is struggling, or when you know that you're going down a bad stretch, you kind of say, all right, hey, look, defense is struggling. The next 2 or 3 games, they'll kind of get out of their funk. If they never do, it kind of wears on you. And the same can be said when the defense is playing well and the offense is struggling to find the end zone. This team, I think they all still feel a little snake bit from Derek Carr getting hurt when he got hurt. And then Donald Penn was hurt at the end of the year. They limped into the playoffs. I think it would have been a totally different AFC picture.
Sure.
Had they been healthy and had they not had those injuries going into the playoffs.
Could the Raiders have gone to New England and had a puncher's chance against the Patriots? Who knows? But I would have loved to have seen that game. We didn't They went on the road. They lost in Houston without Derek Carr, who's back and healthy and right there in the middle of your screen. All right, inside Training Camp Live. You saw Marshawn Lynch there as well with his gloves and his face mask, as he so often has them. More from Napa. You're looking at the Oakland Raiders. This is their first full day of practice on the field here. Head coach Jack Del Rio trying to make it back to the postseason, trying to stay healthy. And as we watch Marshawn Lynch earlier, and as we watch Derek Carr, as you, Sean O'Hara, talked about Donald Penn, who's not there, he's holding out once a new deal, staying healthy late down the stretch at left tackle. It reminds you in training camp here that so much of what's going to happen in January depends on health throughout the season. And that's why I think for so many of these camps, here's Marshawn, these coaches make such a huge effort, and without the two-a-days now, make a huge effort to do anything they can to keep these guys healthy.
Yeah, the Raiders are a perfect example of having a great regular season, and then it just falls apart at the wrong time. You know, so injuries are going to happen. You know, usually it's not the fact that an injury happened, it's when does it occur. If a lot of injuries happen early in the season, they can come back from it. It's a different ballgame. But, you know, having Donald Penn as a part of that offensive line, he's a huge piece of it. He was a big part of the success of the team and of the O-line last year. With Donald Penn, arguably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, certainly one of the biggest, if not the biggest. So that's a big factor. And really, Marshawn Lynch, you know, part of the reason why I think he was willing to come back was, yes, for Oakland, his hometown, yes, to play for that team. But he looked at the Hogs they had in front of him and he said, I can run behind those guys. And you know what? I might be able to play for a few years, not just one.
Well, let me ask you. He's 31. He hasn't played a game. When he gets on the field in September, it'll be his first regular season, or legitimate action, let's call it that, in 20 months. What does he have left? And is the time off a good thing? People assume it's a good thing because he didn't get hit, but at the same time, he's 20 months older and maybe rusty.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some rust. The good news is, you know, he can kind of shake that off in the preseason games. And I think Marshawn also, you know, if I'm Jack Del Rio, my mindset is I don't want Marshawn to go nuts in September. You know, I want to save him for November, December, and for that playoff run. So I wouldn't be shocked if we don't get a heavy dose of Marshawn to start the season and early on. But really for Marshawn, he's going to be fresh. I think the biggest question is just how's the lower back feeling? And can he go back to being that bruising, I'm going to break tackles, run through your secondary type of running back? Or is he going to try to avoid contact a little more and be a little bit of a different back?
They need to rely on him, though. It's why they went out and they paid him. And, yes, they probably limit the carries early, but behind him, Jalen Richard, undrafted last year, made some plays. DeAndre Washington also behind him. Taiwan Jones no longer there. Not exactly a lot of big banging depth there in the backfield with Latavius Murray now in Minnesota.